I'm Farai. I'm feeling unsafe, and I want to feel safer. I am not sure that what I will share will be held because the relationships haven't been felt. So I want to pose what I'm saying as questions. I want to share as much as what came up in this group as I can. Question. When we started talking, we talked about trying to define this idea of zero tolerance. Are we defining it along values or behaviors, or a combination of the two, right? So I think that it was important for me to kind of try to understand that. Some things that came up collectively were making sure around security, safety, informed understanding of definitions of terms, and then cultural understanding. And so then questions that came up for me is, how do we reach what Mr. Billings was talking about? How do we as a national group, right? This started as a regional organization. It is now a national and international organization. How do you maintain those things? There was already a culture in place, and so they had an understanding. So where are the opportunities for us to get to know each other? I don't know. We don't share all the same cultures in here, right? So how do we as a collective body of people coming from different cultures create a shared culture around that? I have to speak really clearly right now about what's going on in my body, which is when we're in spaces for our training, we talked about the intersectionality or issues that come up distracting us from some things. And I'm feeling right now distracted inside my body. There's these issues that are grounded in anti-racism. And then there's these issues that we are now talking about, which is gender-based, right? Sexism, all of the other isms that we say we're not going to get distracted by. And I'm feeling this idea of becoming, we want to create a safe place. I don't use that language, I say safer, because you can't define for me what is safe, right? So you can't, I'm saying, is there going to be a one bullet? There's one bullet. There's one thing that's going to fix this whole group and then the 70 more people? I'm not sure, so that's a question. I'm hearing, and I right now I'm doing the same thing. I'm speaking from an individual context, but we're talking about a collective. So we're talking about individualism, we're talking about collectivism. We're trying to create something that's for the collective, but I'm hearing a lot of individual stuff coming up, and where's the space for that to happen? Because we are here to build relationships. We can't hold each other accountable. This is an accountability thing. How can we do that when we don't have the relationships yet? So we're saying, come up with a policy. I don't know more than 20 people at a level where I would feel like I could say to them, hey, what you just did, it hurt me.
Say that.
I need you not to say that. And then not feel like someone next to me who doesn't know me is going to judge me because I said that. So I'm like, this doesn't feel safe right now in terms of, I want it to feel safer. I want us to come up with something that is safer. I think that we should be, I want to ask the question. I don't want to make the statement. I'm sorry for shooting on us. I don't want to shoot on anybody. I don't want anyone shooting on me. Can we start asking more questions? I think we have to go deeper. This is, I'm already feeling, I love what Ms. Barber said about respect and protect. I remember my first workshop, and Ron, who I love with my whole body, said, hey, baby. And I looked at him like, nigga, if you call me baby one more time, I don't know you, right? I had to come to know that was the culture, and now I've come to embrace it. But if I had stopped at, yo, he just said, baby, baby, to me like 5 times, or to us, I wouldn't be in this room right now. I wouldn't be here. So I almost want to say, those who were at the root, who created, can you share with us, is there some way that we have an understanding of what the culture was that created People's Institute? That was the culture that is coming from. And we can sit and try to figure out how to make it safer, but to not honor that that's where it's coming from, I'm all fucked up. I can't right now. And please, elders, forgive me. I'm just expressing because I'm cursing and it's making me feel
There ain't
bad.
no
You know
other
what I
words.
mean? But I'm really like, no, how do we hold this space? The intersectionality I want to hold, it means something to me. How do we hold it and also hold racism is what we're talking about. And if we're talking about racism, then all the things that we said in terms of how it's going to affect my brothers, my sisters, those who identify as male, those who identify as female, along the continuum, but race be what we're talking about. So how do we do that? Can we do that? Is there going to be a one fix? Because we are now a huge body, right? That's transformed and morphed. So
I don't think this workshop is a one fix for any of this. And so there's a lot going on there that I don't know about, right? I think it's going to take more conversations about many of the things that you brought out and other people have brought out, okay? This is a very, very small conversation, and what you guys occupy is a very, very large space. It's going to get even larger, right? So there are limitations with the conversation I'm trying to bring out. I didn't expect the group to go and have this type of richness and depth. I'm so appreciative of it because I'm learning a lot, and I think I think you're navigating a very difficult space. But what I hear is now you have some strong language with which to talk to the accountability board and the executive board and the staff about these issues and how you all heard one another. So, thank you.
May I?
I think she had a comment. There's still
Add a
this
little
group.
to this
There's
group.
this group.
I'm Pat. And I'm really glad I'm in the Urban Bushwoman shirt right now because I'm in my body, and also in my body is just quaking. In our group, in this tension between values and behavior and trying to figure out what the hell we're talking about, we also realize that we're at this growing edge as an organization with the fact that racism has destroyed all of our relationships to our bodies. And we're at that edge, and all these issues, we're physical bodies, we're sexual bodies, and we are at this growing edge of having to really deeply understand in the context of anti-racism, gender, what intersectionality really is, how racism intersects with gender, sexuality, sex, all of this. And it's a terrifying and beautiful edge. And in our group, I think we recognize that we got to explore this. We got to understand the difference between patriarchy and male dominance. We have to understand misogyny. And I also really want to lift up, I don't know if he's still in the room, Brother Kente Perry. If any of us in the room have had the great gift of listening to his analysis of patriarchy and whiteness and sexuality and intersectionality, we are all in a place where we need to add this to our understanding. And so that we can grapple with these really deep questions of bringing a humanistic understanding of culture and body into this issue.
It wasn't a comment, but it kind of started over here where I began to get the language for it. But I think, and I don't know the legalities of this, but with the statement that Maria shared from her group, that if we move to this idea of 100 transformative or 100 restorative, and we are thinking about, because we're giving all these examples about touching and feeling, but when there are serious, egregious instances, we have victims and perpetrators, and how do we move to a place that we are transforming and restoring humanity in both? And so even if we can begin to offer, I don't know if there are lawyers in the room, how do we get our own legal language put out there? But no, we reject this language for these reasons. We offer this, and this is the legal connotations. And yes, that may be removed from the community. That also may be figuring out what the treatment is and the support is for people who get it and want help. Like, there's a whole lot that we could begin to include and build right? Places, frontiers we have not embarked upon, but if we just kind of offer some new language, again, I don't know the legalness behind that, but I think there's the wisdom and the skill in the room to begin to offer some counter things, and then we are the pioneers in that.
I just think that I love the title of this process, you know, where we are. It's like renewing, it's reaffirming. There is a history that precedes some of us, but there is a history that we all have shared, and there's pain, a lot of pain in that history for things that happen and weren't addressed. And I'm wondering, you know, if we are to continue making a decision. For me, the invitation today was about, yes, there is a legal thing that we gotta do, but we're also opening the door to say no more. We will be not talking about these issues. You know, no more we will ignore the history and the culture that has allowed that pain to storage in us. Because for many of us, we have continued with a commitment to the People's Institute, knowing very well that the People's Institute is not a perfect place.
That's right.
And at this point, what we are saying is, we need to restore ourselves, or else we can't continue inflicting pain on people. And so for me, the issue of relationships and the issue of acknowledging the pain that is there, the historical pain that is with all of us, needs to be acknowledged. This is not, you're starting, it's a legal issue, you know? But at the same time, I don't think that it's only a legal issue. I think that it is an entrance into who we are and who we are going to be next. So, and we're doing things, I mean, I started in the 90s, you know, we're doing things that we haven't done before. It's not that the conversation that we are having, we haven't said it between all of us. We acknowledge, you know, how Eurocentrism and white culture determines the conversation, and how we have to be very careful. But at this point, what we are saying is, no longer we will ignore it. That culture of negligence is not one that we're going to continue fostering. And so for me, that's the value of it, and that's the value of gathering, and that's the value of you know, coming in and telling me, I gotta say this for legal reasons and for us that we hear you. But of the other conversation that needs to happen is there too. And that's maybe not a conversation for this workshop, but this is a conversation for all of us to continue.
That's right.
Because this is historical. This is a historical moment, and I just hope that we understand that.
I appreciate everything everybody said in this room, because, you know, this is a historical moment. I've been saying, like the last 2 years, what do we look like 40 years from now? We're approaching the 40th anniversary. So this kind of conversation has to happen. Will we still be around another 40 years? Will we let policy that's rooted in racism, that come from these very same institutions that we say oppress our communities, now dictate how we also define the culture of the People's Institute? Because there was a sense of family, even all in the midst of all of this messed up stuff, the negligence and everything else. The idea of family still was grounded in that. That's what brought us to the table. We have different ways of relating to one another geographically. So we have to find some balance, is what I'm finding and understanding. Because the community I come from, we talking about sexual harassment. Shit, they don't even know what sexism is yet. So we need clear language on that. I don't even think everybody in the room have a clear common language for sexism itself, the collective. And then a common language just for the individual. Because we're talking about the perpetrator and the victim, but what about the accused also? Because that goes back to what Barbara was saying in terms of how black men are also portrayed. And the same thing the sister was talking about as far as Emmett Till and that sort of thing. I've been through in the same situation, that's why I'm speaking to it. And how do we now not, if we don't define it in those terms and just look at one angle of it, then the new folks who we bring in, if we don't prepare them with the proper language and education that we all agreed upon, then all we're doing is perpetuating another 40 years of it. We have to now look at it from the collective side of it, the individual side, and find that balance while at the same time preserve our humanistic values that's rooted in those principles, that's gonna hold us down for another 40 years, but keep us to be family. Because again, I might say baby, you know? I'm a hugger. I was taught to embrace. So I come up north and I do that. I meet the sister at the airport and automatically I was told I violated her space. I didn't know what the hell she was talking about. I didn't know what that meant. But then I felt bad as hell the entire workshop for it. Now, what does that mean now? We're talking about ability board, then handle that kind of situation in the future. Is what it comes down to, because if we're not careful, this could change who we are. So we have to define for ourselves, who are we as the People's Institute, and as it relates to the whole idea of how do we handle this matter, but also say no more. How do we deal with the historical neglect that is taking place, because there's some stuff that took place in all of this here, right? And it has to be addressed. And we can't have this here kind of shit going on. But we got to do it in a way that's humanistic, that doesn't throw people away, but also say, look, we didn't have. We got to be able to be careful and not allow. Because I'm very concerned, y'all, when it comes to building relationships. We got a whole new national board of directors. Our elders in the room gonna be transitioning out in the next damn decade. Who gonna be running this shit then? The board? I don't know them folks. Then this policy gonna start running shit for us? The people define who this is, so we got to take our time with it also. That don't mean keep pushing it aside like it happened for all of those damn years. We got to be intentional about getting clear about what we're saying together. So when new folks come in, we all saying the same damn thing.
Absolutely, yeah. So I just want to appreciate all the groups you've shared. You've shared some really important information that will be transferred to Dr. Kim, the national staff, and the board. We need to go ahead and move on. And we can talk some more about it. I need you guys to understand, we're not going to have time to go through all of the definitions. Go through all the definitions. They're in your workbook. And you can read the definition of sexism, sex discrimination. When we're talking about sexual harassment, sexual misconduct, I gave you the definition up front. But with respect to sexual harassment, we're talking about unwelcome conduct of a sexual nature, right? That is perpetrated on an individual who has not given their consent. The definition here is clear consent. Also, unwelcome conduct. It's not every form of conduct. It's not just a hug, right? But respecting someone or being accountable to yourself and that individual may mean, can I hug you? Can I touch you? Right? Not saying you're trying to change the family, but that's respecting yourself and being accountable to yourself and that individual. You also need to understand this, because as you go out and train nationally and internationally, understanding that you may be subjected to these kind of behaviors, right? And then you need to report back to that these behaviors, this is what happened, and we may not be able to continue to engage with this client, these students, because they are not in a space of understanding they are invading my space and they're not being held accountable for that. So it's not just that we're here talking about all of you and what you have to change. You have to understand the world around you and how it also needs to change to respect who you are and what you're doing. And I'm sorry I'm getting caught in these narrow legal words sometimes, but it's important. The board wants me to share that with you. It's really important.
And Dr. Love, I would say,
yes,
Dr. Love, that the time that you're taking for these words is really important. And the time that she's taking, she was apologizing for getting caught in these terms, but I didn't want that to be that's an unnecessary for me apology. Ideally we should be here all day. That's right. So if there's any apology, the apology is that we only have this morning to deal with this conversation. And there are a couple hands that were up. What I had whispered to Dr. Love was whether or not we could take a break. And she was saying yes. And I just want to ask that in taking the break, Imani, I saw your hand, and Joseph, I know this is a lot of work that you do. Mary, I see your hand back there. So is what you're saying, does it need to happen before or after the break, is my question. And can it be really brief? Thank you very much. So we'll go in that order, and then Dr. Love has you. And then what I'll say is that if there's anybody, because I believe I've been told and can feel in the room that this conversation has triggered some things for people. And one of the spiritual tools that we use, I and many people are in the room use tools of grounding and tools of different spiritual traditions to ground us. So that's why you see the candles in the corner and the water in the corner. That's a tool that I use to set a room Another tool that I and many people use in this room is saging. And so if anybody during the break wants to be saged, Thea and folks here, and there's a place that we can sage, there's some fresh sage. So I just offer that once the break happens, if that's a tool that you want to use for whatever was triggered, you can come up here and be saged. So that's Imani, Joseph, and Mary.
I just want to offer gratitude to the room because I could hold my hand up that long because I knew I could hold my hand up that long because of who you people are, even though I'm totally green. And I want to say that for me, the word familia brings just an infusion of warmth into my soul. And I know that there are people for whom the family is where they experience their first sexual misconduct. And so I want to say intent and impact, and thank you.
One of the things that I would share, right, that we're having a courageous conversation. And a lot of times we don't think about, there's a lot of I in the conversation, but we don't think about saying, when I did this, I created this harm. Right? And I could think of a time, it was many years ago, there was a gathering, a women of color gathering in New York City. And we had to stop by there for some reason. Ron and I stopped, and we stepped into that space, right? And people that are really near and dear to me in this room were trying to hold us accountable about entering that space, right? And I was hiding behind Ron, as I like to do often, right? And say, we were doing it because our intent wasn't to disrespect the space, but our impact did do that, right? So, I'll take that opportunity to apologize to the people that are here that were there then. I know Rachel, Ibrahim, and I have a long-standing, loving relationship, and it impacted for a very short time that. But I remember thinking that because of the love that we have in this family, we can heal from that. And there was something that I needed to learn in that moment, that even though we were there for some very, very important good reason, which I don't remember now, we were still imposing our presence. And it didn't make us less loving or committed to this work or to any of these relationships to take that criticism and say, I'll do better next time.
And what helped us heal was that we had a shared language of accountability because of the work that we do around men and engaging men in gender-based violence. There is a shared language and understanding and a commitment there where I know I can hold you accountable and you're not going to flip it on me. So there's enough trust for us to also engage that authentically, honestly, for me to have rage, for me to express myself truly, honestly, and authentically, not hide stuff and protect you from my feelings. That allowed us to heal. And then organize.
Yeah, Mary?
I just wanted to say that, and I'm sitting between a white woman and a black man. And this is about race. Everything we talk about is about race. And so even as we talk about this, if you have been sexually harassed, it's going to have a higher weight. If you have been sexually harassed, it's like, well, we deal with that in our family, just get over it. I mean, this is how we are. If something's going on, I'm going to go off on him, I'm going to go off on you, right? Because this is always swirling. For us as trainers, for us as organizers. What does it mean to be white in this country, whether you're doing anti-racist work or not? Your pain is valued at a much higher level. And then what we do, we start tearing each other down. That's what it's internalized oppression playing out all day long. And so one thing, when we are oppressed, we have to figure out how do we make $1 out of 15 cents, which really means we're manipulating the situation. We say in the workshop, a good organizer is a good manipulator. Well, there's a lot of people who are sexually harassing people who are good manipulators. And we got to be clear about the power that we carry when we walk into these workshops. Just when sitting at the head of the room next to people fight to sit next to that doggone flip chart. They ain't being real about it. They do little things like put their bag over their head, then they go over there and get coffee and act like that's not a big thing. Because they know that's a position of power. So that when you got that position of power and we still are broken people, we manipulate that, we hurt us and we hurt others. And we are not dealing with that.
That's right.
But we're dealing with it today.